How's it
Massive
going?
massive thanks, mate, for jumping on here with me tonight. And I know you've been busy today. And yeah, so where did it all start for you with Peterbuilt Moto?
Yeah, of course. Well, first of all, I just want to thank you, Josh, for inviting me. I really appreciate it. I like what you're doing,
Thank you,
really
man.
sharing and spreading the word of motorcycle, and bringing it out there to more people. So and giving us builders, home builders, a chance to talk about what we do because most of the time we're just hidden behind a video and we don't get to talk about what we do. So I appreciate it. Thank you. Um, as far as where it all started, honestly, Peterbilt started exactly a year ago. Well, tomorrow is going to be my 1 year anniversary. So I
Wow,
started,
that's
yeah, I
awesome.
started, I started my first post with 0 followers. Didn't really know what it was going to turn into. Um, but I've always had a lot of passion for motorcycles, and I've been riding motorcycles since when I was 16. I'm 34 now, so yeah, for almost 15
Wow.
years. Um, uh, but I've always had a passion for riding motorcycles. But building was something that I've always had in mind. I've always worked on cars, motorcycles. I'm actually an engineer, and I work for a construction company. So it's in my blood. It's I just love being down and dirty and really just working on things. But you know,
That's
I
awesome.
finally I finally made the decision to share what I do exactly a year ago because I felt like I was working in the garage and then nobody was seeing some of the stuff that I was building. And I wanted to turn it into something where I it was more of like a DIY and showing people how to work on bikes.
Yeah.
Nowadays, right? I mean, everything's expensive. Everything's just getting more and more expensive. In America, there's a shortage of mechanics, right? So when you take your motorcycle to dealership, especially the dealership, they'll charge you an arm and a leg. But what people don't realize is that a simple socket set and simple tools you can work on 95% of your bike, right, without taking it to a dealer. But it really takes a lot of courage to get out of that comfort zone and really
Yeah.
to try to work on your bike. I mean, motorcycle
So
is not something that you want to mess
yeah.
around with, and you want to make sure that it's safe. But
So Peter,
you
where
got to work.
what made you? Sorry to interrupt you there, mate.
You're
What
good.
made you decide? Because like for me, like I've had the idea of doing what I'm doing for a long time. What made you all of a sudden go, I want to do this. I want to put my face to a camera and I want to open up what I'm doing because obviously you know yourself, like once you video any fabrication, it allows everyone to have an opinion, and then like it's a lot to prepare yourself. But what made you feel that you was ready for that?
There's a lot of online builders, YouTube and on Instagram, and I just saw what they're doing, and I realized, hey, that's exactly what I'm doing, but nobody's seeing my work.
Yeah,
And I wanted to add my own spice to it by showing DIYs instead of just full run throughs of builds. But that's what really inspired me. Just seeing other people build work on camera and then showing their work. And I've always had an eye for filming. I've used to film car shows before, so I had
okay,
my way with moving camera around and really just trying to tell a story through my feed. I mean, the Instagram reel only allows you a minute and 30 seconds for a video. So I only have that
yeah,
short amount of time to show a build from start to beginning, but it's like a story to me.
yeah.
And and again, like I told you, like I've always been a handy guy, and I've always liked working on motorcycles. So that's what made the decide to share my my work to the world. And
So
yeah,
do you feel having an understanding or a better understanding of cinematics has helped? Because obviously when like tonight I went back onto your Instagram, just thought, right, I'll have a quick look, see if I've missed anything. I think I'd only missed like 3 posts, but I realized, like, for today I've done my first ever attempt of a cinematic. I've washed my bike and using these products that I'm hopefully going to be helping to push in the future as they move into
mhm.
the motorcycle scene of the cleaning products. And I'm stood there with my son. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And then I happened to watch your videos tonight, and I'm like, this guy's got it dialed down. I mean, putting a nose cone on a bike, and you made it look so fluid, like so natural, like you know, as you chop the video up. And I thought, this is cool. Like this is, and then what I really enjoyed was, and what I related to as a person that builds bikes in my shed, is cutting a piece out of the middle of a tank. I thought that's cool because that's me. Like I made a whole exhaust frame out of a bed frame. I thought at the end of the day, there'd be so many people turning their nose up going, oh, he's using a middle of a petrol tank, you know, and it doesn't matter what them people think because you're the guy that's achieving it and achieving it at a high level. I thought that's so cool. Hey, insane.
I think my advice for a cinematic kind of videos, it's trust me, it really is not that hard. It takes a while to, you may just want to watch a couple more videos. You know, I watch a lot of other YouTube videos that do cinematic scenes, and once you copy some of their techniques and their movement and you get used to it, it becomes second nature to you. When I first started, I hated the camera. I hate it, mate.
Hate it.
I mean, you've seen some of my videos, and I've had almost 1,000 different angles on how to do one thing, right? And
how long did that take you?
So in the beginning, it took me, you know, it made my build twice as long because I had to stop, reposition the camera, get a good angle, make sure the lighting's good. But over time, it's just, I set the camera, it's right there, and I get the good view, and it's just second nature to me now. It's just part of my process, and sometimes I can't build without a camera. I always think of, oh, maybe the camera is watching me. I need to, you know, and just try it out. You know, when you're doing camera, just try different angles because we live in a day and age where people have short attention span, right? That's what TikTok is for and Instagram Reels for. And you need to capture people's attention. And if you only have one camera view of you building the whole time, people just swipe through it and they skip through it. But if you have all these fancy things going on, it engages people, and that's, I think that's what really helped my page explode and get the followers that I have right now. Is just that I get them engaged by doing different angles, showing a different perspective on how it looks, and and again, it's like it's basically telling a story. You know, it's just it's like watching a movie, right? And you don't want just one scene right there. You are usually engage in a movie because there's different things going on one scene.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, so for example, that video that we're on about where you do like the air vents inside that nose cone, like roughly how long, for example, like just out of interest, how long did it take you to make them vents roughly?
So it was on and off, but if I were to basically
start to finish,
combine start to finish, starting from a template, probably like 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours, with just thinking about it and stopping, and because most of my work is stopping and then thinking about looking at it. But if you were to condense everything without really just pausing, it probably maybe like an hour or two.
So where did you notice, clearly you can click onto Peterbuilt Moto and see that you're absolutely killing it on the Instagram scene. Where did you notice that something was working for you? You know, like, meaning like the views were going up, people were commenting, like, I mean, like I'm sat in England, you know, and I come across you through, obviously I came across you through Edward off of YouTube, but obviously Edward, who's big in the scene as well, come across you through whatever. So you're getting that type of traction now. Where did you see that coming?
I think it's, you know, I found out that it was what I was doing, my recipe was working, was when I was reading comments. And I was getting DMs, private messages telling me how, you know, the most wholesome comments that I see are, hey, thank you for showing this because I actually gave up on my bike 6 months ago. It's been sitting in my garage for 5 years and you gave me the fire and the fuel to go back to it again. That's what really helped me figure out that, hey, what I'm doing is working, and people are actually watching my content and giving them more fuel to go work on their motorcycles again. And it's just a feedback, right? And that's when I found out that it was actually working. And I just kept at it. You know, I kept showing different videos, different projects, and it was working. And I'm gonna keep at it. I might try changing things up, but right now it's, my followers follow me because they keep coming back to see more content like that, like when I'm pushing.
That's it. I mean, and it's like I've been so lucky so far. Like you're the 21st guest on my show, and obviously, and it's incredible. Like tomorrow's the first year that you officially went and did what you're doing on on Instagram, and it's like I keep saying to everyone, like you can't fake it. It's like, and I mean what I mean is like, and I know, and everyone that's touched a wrench and an angle grinder and cut a bike up, it's not easy. It's not easy. Especially working on old bikes, and I can relate to that. I mean, to be honest, like, but it's so reward. But because you can't fake it, people appreciate that. People appreciate, like, you are the guy in the garage. I mean, you can't get any more humble than what you're doing. It's in a 2-bay garage, like your garage, like like you said, and you're wrenching, like even your videos where you do the cinematics. It's a normal pillar drill. It's a normal grinder. You got your apron on, and off you go. Cardboard templates, and like for me, so I'm like 32 years old. I built my first bike with my dad at the age of 15. I built a 1983 Suzuki GP 125 two-stroke. So to give you an idea, like that bike that's behind you, my Suzuki was a very similar shaped tank. I did like a brat, I called it like a brat style hybrid
like a
street
rat
tracker. I used like a belly pan off an FZ6, off a Yamaha FZ6, turned it upside down. We cut it, shaped it. Everything was made by hand in my shed. But it's nice to see that. Like I almost see like myself when I was 15 with my dad building my bike, because I can see the same shape of bike in the background. It's like it's nice. It's a nice thing. You know what I mean?
I like what you said. How you say you can't fake it.
Can't fake it, man.
When it comes to, especially with motorcycles, right? I mean, I can go ahead and trick you with a camera and make it look like I did my work, and then it's not. It's done, right? And then people try to do the same thing, and it doesn't work. And with motorcycles, you can't fake it because it can be deadly, right? When you show people the wrong way, and it's a trial error for me. And but when it comes to motorcycles, everything I do is I take it seriously, and I always think in my mind, is this type of content that is safe for people to do, or is this something that because in the back of my head, I always think about that. It's true. And another thing you said too is just I do this because it's just pure passion for me. It's time consuming. I actually, again, like I told you, I work in construction. I'm engineering, and then I wake up at like 5:30 in the morning, and then come back home at, I don't know, 6 or 7 o'clock near dinner time. I spend time with my daughter for a couple hours, and I come out here from 9 till 12 o'clock wrenching, and then I wake up again at 5:30. So people ask me all the time, why do you keep working all the time? Why are you always working and wrenching something? But people don't realize that I come in the garage. It's not work for me. This is my hobby. This is my passion. This isn't, it might sound cliche or corny, but when you're passionate about something, it's no longer a job, or it's not longer something that you dread doing. It's I really love what I do, and I show that on my video, and
Yeah, man. It's like, and I mean, when you can get there and lose 4 hours and don't even know where the 4 hours are gone. I mean, mate, I've been there. I haven't built as many bikes as you have. Looking for your content, but I've been lucky enough to build 3, pretty much from the ground up. I mean, one of them, my first build back on my YouTube channel is going to be like a reincarnation version 3 of one of my 125s that I'm going to be using for commuting to work, and so I'm going to attempt to kind of do the videography stuff, which I suck at.
You gotta get at it.
I suck at it, mate. I use my phone, which is it's an old. Well, it's an Hawaii thing, mate. I don't even know how to take a good picture. I'm very old caveman like in this stuff. So I certainly appreciate watching what you guys are doing. You guys have taken it to the next level. But
Well, just to
so
let you know, all my videos since I started, I've been using an iPhone. I think it's an
awesome.
iPhone 13 or 12, but it's just a phone camera, right?
Okay.
And then I don't have a $2,000 Sony or Canon where I shoot all my videos. It's just a regular phone.
That's
And
awesome.
my editing app, it's not any fancy software. I do everything on my phone. It's CapCut. It's free.
Yeah, I use
Um,
CapCut. Yep.
so if I can do it with my phone, I think anybody can do it, right? It's
That
just trial and error, and you just gotta, it's really all about the hand movements. You gotta be steady. But I like that's what I like about the iPhone is that they have self stabilization.
okay.
So even though you're shaky, it looks cinematic when you put it all
Yeah,
together.
man.
And
And
then,
that's
phones nowadays are really powerful. I mean, they have
yeah.
4K, they have all sorts of different features. iPhone 15 right now has, it's really, you can make movies with your phone.
Yeah.
So it's,
And
again,
that and
it's
that's
the whole
that's
philosophy. Yeah.
that you know what I mean. That's sorry to talk over you there,
No,
but
you're
like
good.
that's
You're good.
that's like reassuring and it's humbling to know like because again like it would be different, for example, if you had a few and first of all, with regards to followers on social media, it's a shame that we're kind of all judged upon the amount of followers we have. But however,
Yeah.
whilst I'm lucky enough to have somebody like you that's on here with, was it 45,000 followers? Um, I believe 45,000.
40,
But what?
40.6.
Okay, sorry, 40,
Yeah.
40, but 40.6. But what the humbling thing is that you could claim to be bullshitting and talking loads of rubbish and trying to stop other people, encouraging other people to join that journey that like what you're doing, but you're
Mhm.
not. And it comes back again to how you're not faking it. You're a humble person with regards to what you're doing. You could have come out with a load of stuff to put the likes of me off. Don't do it. It's this, is that. But
Yeah.
you're just keeping it real, and first of all, thank you for that. Because obviously I'm like fucking stressing out trying to film stuff, and then you are going. I do it on an iPhone 12. I'm like, wow, you know.
Yeah.
It,
And that's what I encourage people to do, and not just always try new things. And you never know what it's gonna come out if you don't try. So that's kind of, I went through that process, and I'm telling people, hey, this is how I did it, and it might work for you if you keep at it. Just be consistent, and and that's kind of how this whole thing started, right? It was just I didn't think it was gonna turn into anything special when I first, exactly 365 days ago, when I posted my first video. I didn't think this was going to turn into anything, but I just kept at it. It took me about 6 months to really gain traction. I mean, starting out is the hardest part of any hobby,
yeah,
right?
oh yeah, yeah,
And getting traction, and especially with Instagram, it takes a while to get a following. But when you are natural, when you're real with yourself, and you're not faking it, and people will see that. People will get
that's
attracted
it,
to that, and
that's it.
then they'll you'll gain, other people who are like-minded, or who are just curious of what you do. And again, like, I just main thing that I do is I'm just transparent to people. I tell them how it is. When people message me and they tell, hey, can you work on my bike? I'm just real with them, and I tell them, hey, I've only done this for, I don't know, a year, and I don't have a lot of experience, but um, this is I'll do this, and I'll give you an honest pricing to fix your bike. And people see that, and they keep coming back and coming back. And I've actually had a couple of customers who have asked for just one thing, and then the next thing you know, they want to do a full rebuild.
Wow, that's
they ask
awesome.
for a $200 piece that they want to put in, and then it becomes to a $1,500 work that ends up, and
Yeah,
they see
man.
that. And when I don't fix something properly, I tell them, hey, bring it back, and I won't charge you for anything. And I always give them some kind of warranty, and I tell, hey, after 6 months, just if it doesn't, something comes off or it's not working right, just bring it back here. I'll fix it for free. And again, I don't really do this for money. It's good. It's a good side hustle, but I mean, first thing, if you're trying to make money building a motorcycle, you need to go to a different different job, because it's a labor of love, and you're going to lose a lot of money from time to time. But it's also something that I just love doing. Luckily, right now I have a couple of projects that's actually making me money. But
Oh,
for
that's
me,
cool.
in the back of my head, that's not really why I do this. I do this to rebuild bikes, right? And
No,
yeah,
but obviously, if you can, I mean, it's like I've been open with everybody. I've had people message me, like I've actually had people going, what are you actually doing, basically? And I'm like randomly, like, are you a bike builder? I mean, last night about 1:30 this morning, whereabouts are you located? And I'll reply, I'm based in the UK, and they go, do you build bikes? And I'm like, well, I mess around with my own stuff, and then they're like, okay, so like this guy last night was, I'm looking to have a Harley built based in the UK, and all, because I've been able to connect with people on this social media platform, I'm able to start pointing people in the direction of, first
yeah,
of all, I asked the guy, what style of bike are you looking to build? He sends me a picture, and it's a bit like let's say a bit like how Jesse James used to build short,
like
narrow, big
choppers.
engines. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
but not raked out like performance style choppers.
Yeah,
And
like
so
bobbers kind of.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, kind of like obviously more with apes and a fatter wheel,
yeah,
more, you know what I mean, with a bit of performance. And so I reached out to, I pointed him in a direction that I would suggest.
yeah,
And the guy was like, "Oh, thank you very much. Keep doing what you're doing." And it's them little things like keep doing what you're doing and that. But it's nice. But so yes, obviously with you, like what made you go down the what appears to be the cafe racer scene? Because that seems to be why that scene, for example.
So I think when I started riding motorcycle, I got into just street bikes, and then I slowly got into I got a Harley and a Sportster, so I got into the bobber scene, and I've been working on kind of route rod and bobber look, and I'll show you my bike later. But I want to do something different, and that's when I decided to do, hey, let's try the cafe racer route, and because it's more common for people to have. I mean, there's a lot of cafe racers out there, and I feel like starting that kind of content would engage more people. And then, lo and behold, most of the customers that come up to me, it's always cafe racers project. But I love the look. I love the style, the minimalist. And just how sleek uh, and all the variety of things that you can do to a bike to get it that look, right? It's limitless. There's just so much you can do, and then every bike has its own characteristics, right? And it's just a whole range of things that you could do with a bike. That's kind of why I went there. But
Mm,
I'm not secluding myself to just cafe racers. I also I think my next project that I want to build is a bobber,
okay.
kind of like a Harley bobber.
Yep.
Um, but I want to be doing different. Peterbilt isn't just cafe races. It's also other types of bikes.
Yeah.
But right now it's 90% of my projects are all Hondas.
Yeah.
Um,
Or CB seven
three
fifties.
cylinders, yeah, CBs, Yamahas, XS.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool. So do you do like the full engine rebuilds as well? And
Yeah. Actually, one of the first videos that that kind of popped for me, and it reached over a million views, and it
wow.
was, well, the reason why it was because it was a little controversial, my processes and the way I rebuilt the engine. I basically took apart my CB 750, and it's been sitting in the garage for, the guy I bought it from. It's been sitting in the garage for 30 years, right? So it needed to get taken apart, clean, bore out or just clean out the cylinders. So I took it apart, videotaped the whole thing. It was like three parts to it, and then the second part was the one that was really controversial, right? I was using sandpaper with a block to resurface the engine, and then there's
Yeah,
so
man.
many people in the comments that were just, hey, you're supposed to take it to a shop, and you're supposed to use a big machine to resurface that to down to like 0.01 millimeters, or like really tight tolerances. But I've seen the reason I learned that from another YouTuber. It was just, it worked for them, so I want to try it out and show people. I mean, again, I if I can go ahead and make a content and show me myself going to a shop and paying another person doing it, or I could show people a different way to do it by yourself, and it worked.
and
You know, I mean, it
and that's
started.
it,
It was,
uh,
yeah.
mate. And that, you know, that's like for me, like I had to change the clutch plates on my Chinese 125. So the
Mm-hmm.
plates had stuck together. So I ordered some new plates. Like cost me like £6. But so when I come to take the clutch basket apart, I discovered that it's got a castle nut in there. You know, the horrible Honda. Because even though mine's a Chinese 125, it's based on the Honda CG
Yeah.
125 engine,
Yeah.
right? So I get there and I see it's got this castle nut, and I'm like, go on eBay, have a look at the price of a castle socket of the socket,
Yeah.
and the socket's like £15, and I'm like, I'm not paying that. So I go rooting through my toolbox. I find a spark plug spanner, a spark plug socket, and I cut the shapes out of it. Right,
Wow.
I'm thinking there's no way in hell I'm paying £6 for brand new clutch plates, and then paying double that for the tool, and that's what I'm like. So I cut all these grooves out, and I'm trying to get this. I'm trying to get the oil strainer off. You know, the centrifugal oil. Some people call it an oil strainer. Some people call it an oil spinner.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So anyway, so I'm trying to take that thing off, Peter, and next thing I fucking snap it. I snap the oil. So trying to find a new one, right? So me being me, I don't like spending. Anyone that knows me, I don't like spending money.
Oh yeah, everybody.
No, I got a family to support. I don't want to be chucking money. So I find one on eBay, and it says it's for my bike, and they send it, and the spline that bolts onto the crank, it's so it sits like that, doesn't it, next to the clutch basket. It's too short, so it's touching on the clutch basket. So I'm thinking, what am I gonna do now? So I take the old one, and I scribe the line in it, and I cut a piece of the section of the spline. And this is and the reason I'm telling this story is because if I was to do that on YouTube, there would be so many people going, oh, you can't do that, right?
Yeah.
So I slot that piece on, Peter. I slot the new aftermarket one on that was clearly originally too short. Then I didn't have a gasket for the cap of the oil spinner, and then I make a gasket out of out of a cereal box, and I can tell you that setup has been in there for years. And
exactly.
I love telling that story because people were like, really? And I'm like, yeah, 100%. And I abuse that bike everywhere because it's a 125. It barely does 60 mile an hour, but it's flat out everywhere, and it just keeps going. It keeps going.
Yeah, I mean, and that's total, and that's really relatable. I've gone through so many instances like that where you just have to find something I like that cardboard box idea. I didn't know a while back. I didn't know you can make a gasket out of a cardboard box, but I've seen a lot of people comment, "Oh yeah, I've used a cereal box. I've used an Amazon box." I actually make my own gasket sometimes. I have a cork gasket, and people are surprised like, "Hey, you can buy this for $15 online." I was like, "Yeah, well, I can buy this gasket sheet for $5 and make it on my own and learn something at the same time, right?" And that's kind of how you gain your knowledge, right? It's trial and error, and you're going to spend a lot of time and maybe money for messing things up, but the knowledge that you gain is priceless, right? I think that's what drives me, and then just learning things every day, and that's why I love about working on different bikes is just that every bike has its special in engineering behind it, and every bike has different components. But once you have a basic understanding of how the motor works, you see that kind of in a different bike. But so.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and like you say, it's obviously the more you. And the thing is like, who says you have to send the block off to be machined in a machine shop? Who says that? And the guys that built them originally were barely doing that. It's do you know what I mean? It's
I mean these bikes that I work on, I mainly work on 70s, 80s bike, and back then I don't know, they had different technologies back then, and then now we have better technology. That's why that we're doing things differently now. But these bikes were built kind of that kind of same rugged, primitive way of building things, and just recreating that. But you know, there's a lot of truth on what a lot of people say. Yeah, right. It's safe to send it to a shop, and that's the right way of doing it. But doesn't mean it doesn't work though if you do it another way. But you know, again,
No,
I get
absolutely.
all sorts of comments, but I take every comment as you know, as a positive learning uh, thing. I mean, the bike motorcycle community is a wholesome community. I mean, we're all here to teach one another, and you know, I've seen a lot of really awesome comments, you know, giving me tips on how to do things, and I've actually used that to work on motorcycles. You know, like
Yeah.
again, like I told you, I didn't go to school for this. I didn't have a mentor to teach me how to build things. I just it was just really YouTube, Instagram, and seeing how other people do it, and I've just, you know, I started out with a, I don't know, 20-piece socket set, and every day I've just, all my tools are growing, and you know, my knowledge is growing too on working different bikes. It's just how it is, right?
So what got you into bikes initially? Was it, did you grow up around people that rode, or was it just something that you were just like, you saw some dude fly past and you were like, that's cool?
It was really back when I was 16. I think back in high school, way back when. My dad bought a dirt bike, and we didn't have a motorcycle license, and you know, we decided to go off roading, and from then on, we realized how fun it was and how awesome it
Mm.
was riding on two wheels, and we decided to, you know, my dad and I decided to get our motorcycle license along with my brothers too. So it was just me, my brother, my two my other brother who just rode all the time. So it started out in the family, and ever since then we were just riding. Right, that's how we got into motorcycle.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah,
That's cool. And
yeah,
then you just carried on down your roads. So
yeah.
what's the plan for? Is it you have a big thing for the future with Peterbilt, or are you just kind of just plodding along? Have you got a plan to do it full time, or?
You know, my next plan, and I've been getting a lot of requests for this, but to people want more, like, longer versions of my video,
So that
and the
means
only
YouTube
place that I
then.
could do that is YouTube. Yep. And so I'm trying to tap into YouTube probably the next year. That's probably be one of my resolution. It's just that
Yeah.
when you're posting videos on different platforms, it's just hard. You have to edit it to fit to that platform, and you know, it's kind
Yeah.
of like Instagram. It only has a maximum of 1 minute and 30 seconds. So so I gotta find a process, but that's finally my next move is to people want to see more. People want to
Yeah,
see
yeah, man. I mean,
more of the
it's
stats.
obvious
I mean,
with your following, with your follow. I mean, for
yeah,
you, it's not
yeah,
even going to be hard for you. I mean, so that was my plan with 666 was I basically got to build a bigger. Well, I call it it's a workshop, but basically it's a shed,
mm,
a wooden shed that I got to build. I got to extend it, and build it big enough to fit a bike in there and build a ramp in there. And I just thought, well, whilst I'm saving for that and trying to get ready for that, and whilst I need to learn and build confidence in the whole having a face on a camera, I thought it just made sense for me just to slowly build my my social media
yeah,
following, and hopefully be able to encourage the people that want to take the time to engage with my content, and hopefully slowly direct them towards YouTube, because I think I think that it would be silly to ignore the fact that you can potentially support your family off of YouTube. That was a big inspiration for me, wanting to build my stuff, keep real to what I can do, you know,
mm,
kind of almost like a middle finger to the critics that just want to
yeah,
chat rubbish, and half these guys that have done this stuff in the past aren't doing it anymore. That some people have valid
yeah,
reasons, but some people just seem to be not interested in helping the younger guys, or and then you've got a big group of the old guys that do want to help the young guys. But I just
yeah,
felt like there seems to be the big guys on YouTube that are building stuff, and then there seems to be a little gap for the little guy that wants to turn I mean, I
yeah,
built an exhaust out of a bed frame. You know, I'm not saying that that's necessarily what I'm going to be doing on YouTube, but I've got one of my electric boxes is an old biscuit tin that my missus chucked out. You know, I want to put that on YouTube.
yeah,
I want to ruffle a few feathers. I want people to go, why are you cutting a biscuit tin in half? And I'm going to go, well, because that's all I got. That's what I stand. That's
yeah,
what I feel I stand for. I feel I stand for
yep,
the guy that can't afford
yeah,
that can't afford the material to build one, or doesn't have
hmm,
that ability. Almost like what you're doing, but almost like a little bit level lower. Do you know what I mean? Like just starting to adapt to something out the kitchen. You know what I mean? Like your level is more elegant, more auto finessed, more, you know, a lot more. Do you know what I mean? If that makes any sense, I don't know. But
Yeah, I like seeing myself kind of in the same level as you are. You know, I'm still a beginner. I'm not, you know, I'm not a professional or anything. I like what you do. You just look around your house in your backyard and see if there's any spare metals that you can work with. And that's what I do all the time. I don't like spending money on parts. I like fabricating things. You know, I heard this one quote one time, and it really hit me hard. And so it might hit you hard too. But they said that you know, when you're installing bolt-on parts, you're not really and you're not welding or you're cutting stuff and you're putting stuff together. If you're just installing bolt-on parts, you're not really a bike builder. You're a bike assembler.
okay,
But when you're actually building, when
that.
you're welding something, you're making a piece out of nothing. You're an actual builder. You're engineering something to work. And that hit me hard. I mean, that's probably a controversial thing to say because people are gonna be like, "Oh, I build parts all the time." You're calling me not a builder? I mean, everybody's a builder, right? But if you think about it, the definition of what a builder is just making something out of nothing, right? Making something that, you know, initially this one, like your bed frame, right? It wasn't meant to be like that, but you engineered it to be that way. So that makes you a fabricator. That I have a lot of respect for you for finding that, for really.
You don't want to see my worlds, man.
Hey, I started out with a $100 welder too. You know, everybody started from at some point, and you know, and you just go from it. So I like that. It takes a lot of creativity and you know, just trial and error. And just courage
absolutely
too.
and that's not like, because you'll notice that you'll get people out there that will listen to something like what we've said and take, oh well, you're calling me not a bike builder. That's not saying that, like, taking a brand new bolt-on part and having to modify it to fit something that, or for example, if it's for a Harley Davidson and you're going to put it on a Honda, you know, that even though you might only have to put a couple of washes on, that's you taking something that wasn't designed for that bike and making it work. So that's still the same thing. Like you're taking that and almost like, well, just because it says it's for that, it doesn't have to be for that. That still makes you a bike builder. You know, it's like you say. It's I always say to people, like, anyone can build a bike on a credit card. Like, you can go onto onto the catalog. I'll have that, and that, you know, and anyone can do that. But like to take something, and I mean, like, for when I build my 125, I've got it in my mind now. I've got a big sissy bar, like an old 70s style sissy bar that I built out of an old, I don't know what you guys call them. We call them trolleys, a shopping trolley, shopping cart.
Oh,
you guys
like
call
grocery cart. Grocery cart.
Yes. So like the bottom rails that hold that where the wheels go. My friend cut two of them for me, and he welded them together. And then I'm going to use for my rear light, I'm going to use an old piston off a 49cc lawnmower engine, and I'm going to drill a hole in the middle, and I'm going to mount the LED stoplight inside that. So when you look at the sissy bar, it's going to be sat that way, you know. And it's like, I've got a spare piston from my son's bike. Why not? You know. And man, I mean, I was really lucky. Like, my dad's in the comments now, like, commenting. He you know, he's the one that's put like a sissy bar made from satellite dish, you know. So I was lucky to grow up with my dad doing bikes like that. Like, we'd make stuff from, like, say, using a belly pan off a 2007 Yamaha, turn it upside down, cut it, shape it, and we built a whole seat unit. You know, I was lucky to make stuff like that. Sorry,
that's what makes a project more memorable. Right? And that's what makes it more fascinating, and it makes it more sophisticating, because if you put the labor and time to think about something, even though this part was, I don't know, cheap and or free, you managed to find a way to find something. All the builds that I've done, I always look at that one part that took me a couple hours, maybe half a day, a couple of days to think about, but it actually worked. And I don't think about the bolt-on part that I got from Amazon or eBay that took me 10 seconds to put in, because that was boring. But the most memorable part for my project is something that you actually molded or fabricate something out of, you know, from nothing, you know. And now it's a part of your bike.
Yeah, that's it.
You know,
So have you
that's
had
what makes it more memorable.
yeah, have you had like when you know when you finish a project and you've taken it out, you've shown it to the world, and people are like, "Oh, wow, that's awesome," and they've ignored that bit that you spent half a day doing,
Oh yeah.
and you're more proud of that bit that's completely pointless
Oh
to
yeah.
anybody else.
Yeah.
Have you had that?
Yeah, I've had a couple of that. I mean, there's a lot of those little hidden thing that, you know, you didn't have a bracket for something, so it's just in your bike, so now it's not visible. But actually, I have
Yeah,
an example here. I'm gonna show you
yeah,
here
man.
that
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Let's have a
um,
look. That's sick.
so this is my Sportster. Sorry, I don't know how to turn the camera around, but
You don't
this
know.
is the Sportster that I've worked on. And one of the things I'm really proud about, I don't know if you see this. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah, man. Is that the oil pipe?
yep. This is the fuel line, right? It just
Oh, awesome.
this is where it's fed through, right? And this is just from like a
That's cool.
refrigerator valve that I got from a hardware store. And then you know, I used a Coke can to wrap this thing around, and I shaped it in there, right? And
That's
then
sick. That's sick.
it just adds so much, you know, more flavor or more. It just makes me. That's what I'm really proud of. Every time I bring this bike, and people just look at that and they just take a photo of it. And then I told them like, hey, where'd you get that? Where'd you buy that from? And I told them, oh, I made it. I went to Home Depot, or I went to our hardware store, and you know, I spent about $10 to buy that, and I wrapped it, and now it's just number one thing that a lot of people look at, and that's what makes me proud. You know, it's not.
Did you ever have any problems with fuel starvation with it? You know, with it having a high point, not it doesn't get to any.
So I know it comes around, right? But the way fluid works, right? If you, as long as the inlet is higher than the outlet, it'll
Yeah,
feed the whole way, right? And then the vacuum through your carburetor will suck that in. And I've never had any issues with it. I mean, it was the
no,
right
that's awesome.
diameter. It was, you know, you could do all sorts of different angles and stuff, but as long as your inlet is higher than your outlet, it'll always flow through,
Yeah.
no matter what. Even when
As a
I
matter of
open
fact,
that, it just flows through. You don't even need
yeah.
suction. It just, from gravity or from the higher pressure of the fluid, it just flows down.
As a matter of
So you
fact,
can do a
thinking
lot of
about it
stuff.
now, that's the bike. That's the bike that Edward test rode on the video on YouTube, isn't it? I
Oh,
think.
really? I
I
think
think
so. I'm not
didn't it,
sure. Yeah.
I think so. I'm not sure. When he came
Yeah.
to interview, didn't he get a ride on that up your street? I think.
Oh no, no,
Oh,
no.
okay,
He's
but
actually
I
from
think
another
that.
state. I think he's probably. I think you may be referring to another video, but
Oh, okay,
this is
okay,
the Harley Sportster. And
right,
then
right.
I just showed that briefly. So,
Yeah, that's cool,
but yeah.
man. So with the tank, is that a modified? Did you fabricate that? Is it split in half and narrowed, or?
Oh no, that's just a regular peanut tank, and
Okay.
it actually I got that from another builder, and it was already painted with the fender, and then it just yeah I didn't fabricate the tank. I'm not that advanced yet. I don't have any metal, you know, shaping machines out here. That's kind of the next level that I want to get into, but that takes a lot of time and effort, and that you know, I haven't learned yet.
No, man. It's
Yeah, yeah,
but like you say, you know, the fact is that you're openly saying that I haven't learned that yet, but I'm gonna, because obviously you say when
yeah,
you get to the type of following you've got, and it would probably be quite easy to, oh, you know, I made this, and like people would, but maybe not question it, you know, but it's still like you say, continuing to remain humble and saying, look, I haven't learned that yet. I think it takes more to
yeah,
stay humble at that type of level, I think.
yeah. It does. I mean, and I do what I do mainly to share knowledge to other. I mean, that's how I learned how to do what I'm doing, is from watching other people, and
Yeah,
that's really the main philosophy of Peterbuilt, is to show people that with just a regular garage, simple tools, you can do a lot of the things to a bike, and
yeah.
you can do it on your own, you know, on your own way, um, and and really, yeah, that's just really the main thing that I do, is to show people, you know. Yeah,
Yeah, man. And that Harley, is that your go-to bike? Is that the bike
pretty
you go
much.
out on? Yeah.
Yeah, I've had it for almost 8 years now. It's actually, I'm
Oh
trying to
wow.
sell it, but
Okay.
I'm trying to upgrade to a bigger Harley. But right now it's, you know, I haven't found any buyers just because it's winter time, so it's not riding
Okay.
season yet. So
Okay.
hopefully summertime I'll have better luck. But
I mean, what are you looking to upgrade to? Because for me personally, I would love a Sportster. I just I like narrowness to them. I like it. To
mhm.
me, like looking at that
It's
bike, it
nimble.
looks like you can. It looks like you can chuck it into a corner and it will do.
Yeah,
I know, like obviously, other
it's light.
people will say like their Evos and their Panheads and that will do the same. But
Mhm.
I'm purely talking from a point that I've never ridden a Harley. I'm only
Mhm.
talking by looking at the bike. It looks like you could chuck it into a corner and
Yeah,
it will do what you want it to do.
I definitely can. I mean, it's really nimble. It's short and it's just it's thin, right?
Yeah.
And I've
Yeah.
actually taken it off roading before,
Wow.
but I'm trying to upgrade to a Dyna.
Okay.
It's somewhat, it's a little bigger than the Sportster, but I'm looking for a bigger engine, like a 1400 cc engine. This one's only an 883, and I always get left behind, every time we're riding. But yeah, I've had a lot of history with this bike. That's really my one of my first bike that I've tinkered with, and really, one of the reasons why I'm doing what I do now is was through this bike. I learned a lot of valuable lessons there, and also a lot of knowledge. You know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Do you find it hard to let go of them? Like I let go of my first
yeah,
bike and I do kind of regret it. But
yeah.
like you get attached to them, don't you?
I felt a little guilty posting the for sale ad on it, and I was actually a little picky with the buyers that was hitting me up, and I didn't respond
Mm,
to a couple people, and I want to give it to the right person, mainly maybe a close friend, right? So I can at least see it still. But
yeah.
yeah, it just you're always gonna have an attachment to every bike you work on, and I think that's just the way life goes, right? And then with the business or kind of like what I'm doing right now, there's gonna be a lot of bikes that I'm gonna regret giving away or at least selling or whatever. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's always like that.
Yeah. So so what do you prefer working on then? What's your preference? Someone hits you up and and I want to build a bike and what are you hoping that you're going to see in the message? Are you hoping it's a Honda or
I'm actually open to different bikes. Mainly right now, I'm comfortable with Hondas and Harleys because that's what and
yeah.
Yamahas. But I'd be really interested in working on a Moto Guzzi or like a Ducati or an old Triumph. Maybe just a different type of bike just to just gain more knowledge and be more versatile, right? But yeah, I mainly accept a lot of CB or Hondas or Yamahas, right? Because that's what I'm comfortable with. But
Yeah.
um, it's really just people hit me up for different things. Mainly carburetors. I just think carburetors are dying. They're dying. Well,
Oh,
nobody makes carburetors
100%.
nowadays, right? So
100%.
the exactly. So the really the knowledge and the what do you call this? Working on a carburetor is like a dying art, right?
Yeah,
It's
because
not a lot of
there's
people.
certainly a knack to it, isn't there? There's certainly a knack
Yeah,
to them
yeah.
for sure.
But again, I mainly work on old bikes. I don't I would be afraid to accept like an early 2000 or a 1990s bike because um, they're more complicated, right? They have sensors, they have a lot of things that you can't fix in house, or I mean, you can't fix in your garage. But
Yeah.
like one of my videos earlier, I was telling the guy that when there's this new 2023 Ducati that came out, and if you look through the owner's manual, it always every part that says, "Hey, if you need to do an oil change," there's a sentence that always says,
It's
"Take it
crazy.
to your closest dealership." It doesn't
It's crazy.
the manual nowadays doesn't tell you how to do things. It's
No.
mainly, "Hey, take it to the dealership. How to change your oil flow, your oil. How do you change your battery? Take it to your dealership." It's nowadays newer bikes they're not making it user friendly to work on. There's a lot of software, there's a lot of sensors.
Yeah.
So that's probably one of the bikes I'd probably stay away from is any 2000. I mainly work on 1989 and below.
Yeah.
I think um, the 70s, the 80s was the golden age of motorcycle, back
Yeah.
when everything was mechanical and really just when something was wrong, you could diagnose it, and you could understand what was going wrong, right? And
Yeah,
that's
man.
why for someone like me who's only been doing this for a year, I was able to figure out a lot of, even if you're not mechanically inclined, if you really put your head into it, you could really understand your a 4-cylinder uh, carburetor bike. They're all mechanical. They're they're easy to work on. I would say. So that's why I
Yeah.
work mainly on old bikes, and I appreciate the old technology.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm similar. I mean, I again, I don't claim to be. I mean, I've rebuilt carbs. I don't. I hate doing them. I find very difficult to set up. Coughs and farts and sputs and backfires, and then you adjust
Yeah.
that carb, and then you think you got somewhere, and then all of a sudden the
It's
other one's doing the same, and you're like,
Yep.
ah,
It's finicky.
um,
Yeah.
you know, oh mate, yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially when you've got like, so I got my current bike on the road is a 1987 ZX10, Kawasaki
Okay.
ZX10.
Nice.
It's kind of like a hybrid, so like the back end is cafe racer style seat where it's got the hump on the seat,
Hmm.
and then the front end has got straight renfalls, purely and simply because I don't like clip-ons.
Yep.
It's not that I don't like them completely. It's the fact that I don't know how you can sit like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like
They're too
I,
aggressive.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not a big guy. I'm a normal sized guy, but like I just can't do it. I can't do it.
They're not for cruising. It's really just going to town real quick for drive 10 miles and going back. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
looking to drive 2-3 hours, that clip-ons aren't the way to go. That's why you don't
No.
see a lot of people riding sport bikes, to go to somewhere far. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of what I tell my customers too, that want to go from a regular mid-seat position to like a more aggressive stance. That I warn them, like, hey, I'm letting you know right now, this is going to take some time to get used to, and it's not going to be a comfortable ride. But if you want to do it, we'll do it, right? It's a cool stance. I like it a lot.
It
I
is
do it in
cool.
all my builds,
It
but
is
it's
cool.
it's not really for comfort.
Especially when you go like when you upgrade from like a standard clip-on to like a nice
Mhm.
anodized mounted directly to the
Yep.
forks underneath, flat
Mhm.
yoke. That's really cool. But I mean, like with mine is I have no doubt at all that the problem I got 70 mile an hour is the wind catches me, and then I feel the
Mhm.
front end starting to,
Yeah.
because it is an 80s style bike and the way it delivers
Yeah.
its power, it's really harsh.
Yeah.
It just catches and then just starts lifting, and then once the wind catches you, it just pulls you up even more. And
Yeah. Pulls you
I do
down.
wonder, would a set of clip-ons sort that out? But then I think I just can't. I've sat on it like
It's
pretending like
Yeah.
there's a set of clip-ons, and when you've got a bit of a gut, I got a bit of a bit of a gut, just like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, it's like no, not for me, not for me.
And then what a lot of people don't understand about it too is if you change to a clip-on bars, you may also want to consider changing from a mid control to a rear control.
Yeah,
You want to get your whole body basically just arched more. So if
yeah,
you just change your clip-on bars, you're basically just crouched more and your feet still in the mid position.
yeah,
But if you get rear controls, it allows you to stretch your body more, so it's going to be a
yeah.
little bit more comfortable. So the two customers that I've wanted to do what do you call it here? And I'll show you two customers that I have who switched to a clip-on bar, right?
Yeah.
I also built this. Sorry.
I like the rear sets on 'em.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can see it. But
yeah,
sorry,
that's
let me check
nice,
my
man.
phone.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
So this is all custom work. It wasn't bolt on, and we
You
had
made
to
all of
work
that.
with. Well, this was the stock. What do you call this, mounting, and
Oh
it
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah,
it extended even more, so I
yeah,
fabricated it to fit. It wasn't meant for this, but and
yeah,
then this was the old uh, brake pedal,
yeah,
and then I cut it down to make it like a linkage kind of
yeah.
like an arm in it,
Yeah, it's crazy, mate. Because
and then
I got the same
it
thing on
works.
a. I'm building a. That's incredible. Yeah, so I've done
Yeah,
this similar thing. I got a 19. That's a Honda as well, isn't it? Yeah.
this is a Yamaha.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, 1981 CB Super Dream 125,
yeah.
and the Honda. You know yourself, like the Honda ones are big aluminium pieces. I've done the same thing, so
Mm-hmm.
I moved the rider's foot pegs to the what would have been the passenger foot pegs,
Yep.
and then done the same where you've got the spline
put it
come
back.
through the hole for the brake lever, spun it round, and I was able to use
Pretty
a
much,
set of Z900 Kawasaki Z900 levers that just fit perfect, you know.
Yeah, I feel like it was meant for it, you know.
Yeah, man. Yeah, awesome.
It just, you know, the old, there's another bike, but the old rear passenger pedals are right here. So what I did was I took this old arm out and I cut it down. I kept this mounting system and I just connected it to that bike, and it worked out. It seemed like for some reason it was meant to be, you know.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but that's I like with your Sportster, you've kept the mids as well, yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, they're front. They're front.
Okay.
They're more of a kind of just like a regular, you know, seating position. I mean, with Harleys, they're meant to be just for cruising. So I kept that. But I feel like a mid control would work better for me. The front, I feel like your feet is too far out sometimes, and I end up kind of just changing my position while I'm riding. So
that's it. And I mean, you can kind of steer the bike a little bit with your feet. Well, I say steer it. What, you know, everyone has different opinions on it, but you know, I like to like lean on the peg a little bit and kind of help the bike in. And everyone has different styles and that, but.
When you're riding for 2 hours, everybody has different techniques of, you know, stretching out. Like sometimes I put my feet in the transmission case just to bend my feet more, just because you know you get tired of extending them out too far.
Yeah, so for sure, for sure. And then trying to stand up on a bike with a set of ape hangers as well. It looks hilarious, you know, trying to stretch your back and you're like,
you're doing pull-ups.
yeah. People are looking at you down the road like what the fuck's going on? Like, what's this guy doing? You know, it's so obviously, so at the moment you're working all of them apart from the Harley, you're working on all three of them in the background.
Yeah. So I don't know if I can change the camera. I can flip it, but I guess I can't.
No, it's
sorry. I'll just try to kind of just here. So yeah, this is the Yamaha XS 1100. This is a customer bike that I've been working on for a couple months now.
That's cool.
You know, this is my personal. Yeah, this is actually a Ducati, 1980s Ducati tank, and I've had to modify the frame quite a bit to fit. But I really love the Ducati tank because they're just, you know, they have a cafe racer shape to them. I don't like the stock Yamaha tank. And then, you know, I'm just in love with vintage tires. You know, I love the look. And then they're just gorgeous when it comes to the cafe racer look. I mean, you'll see all my projects have that look. And then this is the CB 750 that I've kind of been working with as a personal bike, and I put that on hold because I have too many other projects going on. And then this is my kind of like my daily. This is what I ride all the time. This is a Sportster. This is another Yamaha XS 850. This is a personal project that I own too. I bought this bike for $200. The guy was really, you know, about to dump it to a landfill, but I gave him a second life. These are all customer bikes. You know,
man.
I need more room, honestly, but these are all customer bikes, except for this guy. This is another personal bike that I have.
And what's that there? Is that a V twin?
This is actually a 750 Honda.
Okay.
Again, I was going for that. You know, it has a Ducati tank too. Right now, it has a Harley Davidson logo, but I got that from another buyer. I'm gonna take that off. But yeah, this was actually one of my first cafe racer project that I turned into this shape. You know, it's still not done yet, but.
Did you do the monoshock conversion on it, or is it standard monoshock?
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. How did you do that? Is it?
Well, it actually originally had a monoshock, but I changed the shock to. This is from a CB Sport. It's a sport bike Honda.
Okay.
This came from a Honda sport bike, and then I fabricated like some mounting systems. I haven't welded it yet. I just gotta put this on hold, but eventually, once I get everything going, it'll be It'll be
So
awesome.
are you planning with that, with the way you're mounting it, Peter, is it literally going to be like solid mount, or are you actually going to have like the linkage system underneath, so it keeps the shock in its same position?
Yeah, I'm trying to keep everything in stock, so I don't change the geometry of the suspension, because that
Right.
you get into different problems when you change the geometry of the bike. But I'm trying to
Yeah.
keep it the same, and it has its own like linkage system in here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'm just
The,
trying
re-
to bolster that, but I need to mount it.
the reason I'm asking, mate, is because on my CB125, it's on my Super Dream, it's only a monoshock anyway. Which again, I've said this before on my podcast. The amount of people that have said Honda never made a 125 Super Dream, they did, and it was
Hmm.
actually monoshock. They were when we looked into it, they were renowned for the whole linkage system, C solid. And we've had to literally cut. You couldn't even like cut through the bolts
Yeah,
and knock them out. We had to cut everything out.
yeah.
So I
Start
was
from scratch.
thinking, of. I've seen a lot of people fabricate heavy duty brackets, and like where you've got the link pipe between the
Yeah,
shaft drive onto the other side. I've seen people actually almost do a direct mount, and I'm always
yeah,
interested to know whether that's actually, because I'm guessing as it travels down, it's going to effectively want to put pressure on the middle of the shock. I wonder if
yeah.
it's actually usable like that. Do you know? Do you know what I mean?
I
Like
think I, I
when it
think so. I
travels, it
mean,
starts to.
yeah, I think it's for me, I'm not really confident in doing something that heavy duty custom, because you gotta have a good understanding of the geometry of the shock,
Mm,
and how much stiffness it has. And maybe someday I'll work on something like that. But it's not just slapping a suspension in there. It just, I'd be too scared to make my own suspension. I just, without understanding what the how the geometry works. So
mm.
but yeah, it might work. I've seen a lot of people do it.
Yeah.
This
No, man,
this is another customer bike. This is the one that you, probably the video that you were referring to with the fairing.
yeah, with the
Um,
fins behind the nose
yeah,
cone. Yeah,
the
that's it.
next
That's sick, man.
really one of my biggest problem was that the brake reservoir was hitting it. So
Okay.
I actually today I just changed it to a different uh, aftermarket brakes. And
Yeah.
then the next step for this bike is to change this to a cowl,
Okay.
right? And then change the
That's
seat.
cool.
So I think the customer is still making up his mind on what type of seat and cowl he likes. But once you change that up, it'll complete the look. And then we're going to paint the tank black.
Yeah, because it's
Um,
obviously by the looks of it, he's going from a brat style to now doing a cafe style. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's still it's just the fairing kind of doesn't fit because of the rear. But
Yeah.
once you do a full cowl, it'll be more uniform. It'll be more look more like a cafe racer. Right?
Yeah, man. No,
This
that's
actually
cool.
started out with upright hand controls, and then
Okay.
he wanted to switch to a cafe racer, and I a clip on, and that's when I warned him. I was like, hey, are you sure? Because this is I had to set the clip ons really low in order for it to clear the fairing.
Yeah.
This is actually much lower than this is almost 2 inches down. So he's really going to be
Wow.
facing forward. And then the next thing too is to change this to a rear. Right now it's mid
Yeah.
control, and then we're
Yeah.
going to go ahead and customize like a bracket for it, so we can do a rear control.
No, that's
Right.
cool. That's
So
cool. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna like fabricate some mounts onto the frame and then do like like
yeah,
adjustable resets, or you're just gonna.
yeah, pretty much. I'm still I haven't really dived into it yet, but probably gonna do similar to what I did with the Yamaha. Is just use
That's cool.
something that's part of the bike, and just move the controls to where the rear passenger pegs are. Depends. I might have to lower it. Just depends on how his sitting position are, and it really depends too. People have different heights,
Yeah.
have different riding positions. So like I might have to invite him over and just see what he's comfortable with.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's like when
Yeah.
we tack so we built a whole one-off subframe for the CB because we've gone higher up. To be honest, I've got the same seat unit that you've got on the end bike, the black
Hmm.
fiberglass one. And
Okay.
when I stuck it on the bike, I sat on it, and my kneecaps were up near my ear rolls, and I said to my mate, I was like, look, that's no good. Because
Yeah.
as soon as we moved to the rear sets, even though we moved to rear sets, I couldn't get my legs onto the pegs, and I was like, we're gonna have to come up. We're gonna have to come up about another 2 inches on the actual ride height of the frame. But I don't. I'm gonna go with a bit of a kick on the back to kind of almost give it a bit of an aggressive stance, because I like the flat style, like the original style of the flat fret, you know, the iconic like cafe look.
Yeah.
But then I like a bit of like a performance look. Give it a little bit of a kick, you know, give it a bit of a more of a racer look. And for me, the only thing I find my personal preference is, and I know it's really popular, but you know, like how you got the seat comes up to the tank and nothing flows from the tank to the seat. People like that look. It's like that gap between the end of the seat and the frame and the tank. But like you say, that's just personal preference. I like them to flow.
Yeah, I think that's really tough. You know, I
Yeah,
mean, I think the tank for me when I'm starting a project and the seat are one of the hardest that I've tried to figure out in the beginning, because that's what really dictates the look of your bike is the tank
yeah,
and the seat. Everything else just kind of just complements it, but you need to get your seat and your tank figured out, because you know, again, that's what people look at first, and
yeah,
that's what I have trouble a lot when I'm picking a tank and picking a seat, and it's just really hard to find something that flows together. And I'm like you, and you know, the tank and the seat needs to
yeah,
flow together.
yeah. It needs to flow for
And
sure.
you notice it too when I go to motorcycle events, and I see people just buy a seat from eBay and then they slap it on, and it doesn't fit sometimes. You know, it just seems like,
Yeah,
yeah, you didn't think it through, and it looks like two separate things, and they don't flow together.
yeah.
So it's really crucial picking the right seat and having a nice flow to it.
Yeah, that's it.
But,
So like what I did with my ZX10 is, because I custom built a whole subframe. My ride height's about 4 inches higher than the original. The original tank has like a recess for where the seat flows into the tank. You know, like where they recess the
yeah,
tank on like the late 80s, 90s sports
yeah.
bikes. You know, so what I did is I sheet metaled all of that, and then I
Wow.
brought it out flat like that, and then the seat slots inside it. You know, so
Yeah.
it's only about it's about that much of a recess, but it runs flush onto
Nice.
the seat, go underneath it, and it just finished off that little gap that I didn't like. I mean, I blew a hole in the tank, you know, learning how to weld, fucking try
Yeah.
tack weld, leave, and as soon as I ran like a
Yeah.
2 centimeter bead, it went poof, just blew a hole in it.
Yep.
I was like, oh no,
Yeah.
you know, you know.
16 gauge, 14 gauge is
Oh mate,
toughest thing to weld, and it's so easy to get carried away, and next thing you know, it looks like Swiss cheese, you know.
oh mate, and
And
like I
then
say,
when you're trying to fill it in, you're just chasing it, and it keeps blowing a hole.
oh mate. I mean,
I'm going through that.
I had my son there with the compressor, um, holding the air. You know, so we're pressurizing the tank to make sure that I've filled the hole
Yeah,
back up. You know,
yeah.
and yeah, you know, it's so do you TIG weld as well?
I tried. I mainly MIG weld. I
Yeah.
actually started out with a flux,
Okay.
and then it was $100 welding that I got from a hardware store, and I upgraded to a MIG with carbon and what do you call this, argon mixed
Yep.
gas.
Yep. Yep.
Um, I tried TIG. It's a really meticulous and a more unforgiving process. You got to
Mm.
make sure that your metal's clean, and it takes a lot of time to set up. So I'm still learning the TIG weld, but the quality of weld that you get out of TIG is more it's a lot better. Right?
Yeah.
So, but I like MIG because you just jump right in and you start it, and
Yeah.
you have
Yeah.
3 settings that you can configure, and then you just it's a lot easier.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
cool, man. That's
So,
cool. So yeah,
but yeah,
man.
I think
So
when I started welding, it opened a lot of possibilities. It opened a
yeah.
lot more opportunity to. It just gave me more room to work on the bike, and instead of waiting on parts, instead of looking for parts that'll fit, that might not fit. I just went ahead and fabricated my own parts, and that I think welding was one of the main thing that I was really glad that I learned. And to
Yeah.
anybody, to you, I would really try to hone uh, your skills to welding, because it's limitless. You can do so much stuff with welding, right? And that's,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, sure. I mean,
yeah.
yeah, I've only scratched the surface of what I want to learn with it. I mean, I've managed to build a whole subframe, you
Right.
know, which obviously it takes the weight of the rider. So, you know, and it's I got one of my friends who's 6 foot odd, really about 140 kilos or whatever he is, and I think I said in one of my podcasts before, I welded all the because my frame on my ZX10 is aluminium, so I got a steel
Mm-hmm.
subframe. So I had some adapters machined to go into the original points of the frame,
Okay.
because I just wanted to. The way I looked at it is a bit like you said. Well, I know that these pickup points, they've been designed to have the stress points there, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to try and attempt to move the original stress
No.
points. You
Yeah.
know, I left them where they
Mm-hmm.
were, and I just bent some new tubes. And you know, my brother-in-law, he was at Tech College. He was just joined the live now. Louis, I got it. I gave him some measurements, and I was like, "Dude, machine me these. I want to fit them in the frame." And you know, so he machined me these adapters, and it allowed me to go from an aluminium frame onto a steel
Right.
tube. And we bent about a 4 inch increase in height over a diagonal, you know, shape. And yeah, there he is. He's in the comments there. But yeah, you know, he did that for me, and then allowed me to go onto a steel
Wow.
subframe, and so I welded it all together, and got my friend to jump on it. I said, literally jump
Yeah.
on that. I said, because if it moves with you, you know, it's no good.
Yeah.
And it that was like three
That's
years ago,
amazing.
and obviously the bike's
And it's
been
still
up and down
good.
the road, and yeah, it's working, mate. You know,
Wow. Yeah.
got the loop with the lights in, so I got, like, I think you got one on one of yours.
Mm-hmm.
You know, got the indicators and the rear light all built into the back of it, and
Yep. Yep.
it's good to go. You know, it's
Yeah.
good to go, man.
I think building. I told this to another person before, but working on your bike is as a thrill, because riding a bike that you build is scary. you know,
Yeah,
it's just, I told someone before that when I first ride my builds, it's just the scariest thing in the world. Because in the back of your head while you're riding it, it's like, did I build this right? Did I torque the bolts down correctly?
yeah,
And you're like,
yeah.
and you come back home into your garage and nothing happened. And you're like, holy crap, I'm a mechanic,
And
and
then you let someone else
it's
ride it, and you're like, yeah,
you get used to it too. But once you trust yourself on the motorcycle, I think you could, it's safe for somebody else to ride it, and that's part of the the thrill that I chase for too, is just working on the motorcycle and seeing it work is
yeah,
amazing.
man,
Yeah, it's an
yeah, for
amazing
sure,
feeling. Yeah.
for sure. That's
Seeing
it's
yourself
awesome.
in third person, it's really a different perspective of seeing yourself.
100%.
It's awesome.
Do you
I think
find you've learned? Do you find you've learned more about yourself listening back to yourself?
yeah, yeah. When somebody made a YouTube video about me, it's called Motorcycle Archives, um,
Yep.
and the guy that made the video, his name's Nate, and he was just phenomenal. He does it as his professional job. He films, and he filmed it kind of like a documentary style. So I've never seen myself in that format before, but it
Mm.
felt like I was watching a movie. But I was the main character, and it was. I mean, in the beginning, I cringed hearing myself talk, because nobody likes hearing themselves talk, And I just, but seeing what I talked about, and what really was an eye opener for me was the comment section on that YouTube video, and I think almost has like 200,000 views now. And this
Wow.
guy just started, that was his first video, so he started with 0 followers, but he 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 posted that video, and after that he gained like 5,000 followers on YouTube. And but it was just the way he made that content was just really moving, and it was like a storyline that flowed through. And me seeing that again and looking back was just like, it was awesome. And again, like, looking at the comments, it was really wholesome.
Mm.
I'm usually like an introvert. I don't like sharing personal stuff to other people, but opening up in front of the camera like that was really an eye opening experience for me, because I saw a lot of people relate to me. I talked about something personal, or one of my good friend died because riding a motorcycle, and people relate to that. And then people say, "Oh yeah, way back when I stopped riding because of that." And you're not alone. Keep doing what you're doing. And
I
I
think
almost
that's the
stopped.
video I
Yeah,
watched. Because
yeah.
I think I remember you saying about your friend. Because same for me. Like I lost a friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in Spain, and over there you're allowed to
Mm-hmm.
ride 50s at the age of 14.
Wow.
And I lost a friend. I lost a friend at 15 years old. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
he lived like two houses from me. I was going home, and I saw him the night before,
Mm-hmm.
and he asked me if I had any oil for his clutch, and yeah, I didn't have the oil for his clutch, and then the next day, my dad contacted me, or I can't remember. I'm sure my dad contacted me or something, and my friend came off his bike, and then stood up, and the guys that were with him said they stood up, looked around, hit the floor, and he was dead. And in Spain they bury people the next day. So
Wow.
it's you're walking your friend that you saw 48 hours before.
Hours.
You
Yeah.
48 hours, if that. You're walking your friend to the cemetery.
Mm.
15 years old, and it was
Yeah.
only for me. It was like the following year before I moved back to England, or a couple of
Mm-hmm.
years later. I can't remember what it was. I'd moved away. I went to the grave, and over there they bury people in the wall. Being Catholic, I don't know if it's due to the religion or whatever, but I went up, looked at the plaque on the wall, and it says his age, and there's a picture, an engraved picture
Wow.
of a motocross bike, and that was like, fuck, and
Yeah.
then
It's heavy.
like
It's heavy.
and you'll relate to this as well. Everyone that loves bikes will relate to this, because the first thing you get is you get people go, why do you do
Yeah.
it? And I say to people, I'm like, sometimes I come across quite arrogant with this, and I'm like, look, the very reason that you have to ask this question is the reason that you will never understand why we ride bikes. And they're like, what do you mean by that? And it's like, exactly. Do you not know, do you not think that we don't know that we lost our friends? Like,
Yeah.
and yet we can't stop. It's part of whatever
It's in your
makes us
blood.
feel alive. Or do you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly.
Like,
I definitely feel that. I mean, a lot of people don't understand why do you that's the most dangerous thing that you can do. There's a lot of drivers out there that can hit you, and your Sunday drive can be your last, right? I mean,
yeah,
but people don't understand that we work our regular jobs, 40-hour work week or 70-hour work week, 5 days a week, and that's Saturday Sunday drives are our only escape, and
yeah,
how we express ourselves. It's better than anything in
yeah,
the world. It's better than sex. It's better than
yeah,
it just
man.
keeps you alive.
Yeah, because I think I
And people,
remember you were saying that your friend had pulled up to an intersection. Is that
mhm,
right? Yeah, yeah. That's the video I watched. That's where I
yeah,
discovered you. I just couldn't remember. I watched so much
yeah,
stuff I couldn't remember where I'd seen you originally.
mhm,
Um, but yeah, man, it sucks. And then
yeah,
obviously, how was it for you knowing that you continue? It's hard, isn't it? It's hard.
yeah. I mean, it was back in 2018, and what was really hard for me was my very first motorcycle project was back in college, back in like uh, I know 2016, when I started it. And he saw me build that bike, and that's me building that bike and working on a bike, start from scratch to something. That's what inspired him to buy a motorcycle and customize and ride too. So I inspired him to ride more, and I was really happy. I was like, yeah, let's do that. We were really close friends, and 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 that's what was really painful for me, was that the reason why he's not here with me is because I inspired him to ride. And if I
Yeah,
didn't do that in the beginning, he would still be alive right now. He'd have kids. He'd be married. And then, after when he died in 2018, that was the big baggage that I was holding for a couple of years. I think for 2, 3 years, I stopped riding. I stopped working on a motorcycle. I just forgot about motorcycles altogether. And you know, I just had that guilt in me. And then a lot of people say, you know, he died doing what he loved. He was, you know, when he was riding that motorcycle, he was smiling, and he maybe at some point, even if you didn't inspire him, he would have probably gravitated towards that at some point. So, you know, I don't try to blame myself all the time, but it was just a guilty conscience that I have from time to time that, you know, but it is, this is a hobby. It's a dangerous hobby, right? And when people get into it, they know what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah.
But, you know, you can't live your life being scared or running away from something you love. And mainly after a couple of years, 2, 3 years, I rode my motorcycle again. I started working on motorcycle, and I, you know, last year I built this channel, and it's growing. And, you know, I mean, I do the reason why I do what I do sometimes is it was for him, to commemorate him, and to
Yeah,
show him
man.
that, hey, I didn't run away from what I love, and I'm still doing what he loved.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that was just a really
that's
painful
incredible.
part of me, you know. Yeah, and
That's
that's how
incredible.
really I remember him. You know, I remember him every time I'm working on a motorcycle, and that's what helps me cope. But losing a
Yeah.
friend or something, doing something he's passionate about, it is really a gut wrenching feeling, because it
Yeah,
makes you
100%.
question. It makes you question what you're doing. It's like, should I
And
keep
and
doing this?
and also like when you've got a family. I mean, like
Oh yeah,
my missus doesn't like me on the bike, you know, and there's been
yeah,
a couple of times she's dropped a joke where it's you know, jokingly like, oh, it's
Mhm.
you know, it's either the bike, and she obviously she doesn't mean it, but you know, she's kind of hoping that I'm gonna, oh, it's okay, I'll stop. You know, she's like, it's either the,
Mhm.
you know, pick one or the other, and you know, I said to her a couple of
Yeah,
times, like especially at the beginning, I was like, look, you know, I don't ask you to be new.
yeah. It's not a fair question.
You know, you can't ask, and she
Yeah,
appreciates that. She hates me on it. She
yeah,
absolutely hates me riding, especially, so, you know,
yeah.
we ride bikes that don't handle. You know, I mean, your old bikes are even
Okay.
probably more sketchy than my 80s
Yeah.
sketchiness,
Yep.
but
Yeah.
you know, but we keep, and we are selfish for doing it, I suppose. We probably don't think about how we make them feel that day that you go out, but
Yep.
then if it's going to be your last day, kind of selfishly, what a way to go. I don't know, maybe it's wrong to say that, but
Exactly.
um you
I
know,
think
I don't know.
I'd rather die. I don't want to die in a retirement house. I don't want to die, you know, somebody murdering me or whatever. I'd rather die
No,
doing
man.
something I love doing. You know, it's
No,
kind of a
that's
morbid
it.
way of seeing it, but I, at least right before the instant before I die, I was smiling. You know.
Mate, 100%, 100%. And you know, I
Yeah,
I think it's like you say, it's obviously it's a matter of balance, trying to, you know,
it
maybe
is.
don't push it so much into that corner when
Yep.
you have got a missus to go home to and kids. But
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I don't know about you, but
Exactly.
I said the other week where I had a bad day, and I'm the type of person that gets my biggest battle in my life is myself. You know, like, when I get stuck in my head, I'm done. I find it hard to get out. And
Hmm.
the other day, well, a few weeks back, I said to my missus, I got to go out. And in the UK, it was a cold week. We had like -2, -3. It was probably only about 1 degree
Wow.
during the day. There was still
Probably wet.
a couple of bits where you could still see a bit of ice, but I've gone out and I found we got some really nice country roads here, and
Hmm.
you know, I wound it on, and you know, I caught a couple of hidden dips in the road, and the front wheels coming off the ground, and I'm screaming in my crash helmet. I am literally screaming.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, you know, like
Yeah.
kind of probably looked like a lunatic to most people. I'm probably doing about 80, 90 mile an hour in some places,
Hmm.
and nearly catching me out in a couple of places, but I made it home, took my crash helmet off, and I was like, I needed that, you know,
Yeah.
and
That's true.
that was it. That was
You
it,
you
you know.
can't get that anywhere else. You can't, you know, it's a good stress relief. It's a good way to get lost in your head. When you're riding, you're not just riding. There's a lot of things that goes in your head that you think about. And when you feel the cold wind running past you, and you're shivering, and it just that's it. That's it. That's why people ride. It's a raw feeling that you can never get. I mean, the closest thing to that is skydiving. I don't know, right?
That's it.
But
That's it,
yeah,
man. That's it.
but for me, people ask me sometimes, what do you like more? Do you like riding or do you like working on motorcycle? And to be honest,
That's a
for
good
me, I think
question.
yeah, it's a really kind of a controversial, or not a controversial, it's just a hard question to answer. But when I think about it, I like building more. And part of it might be because, my friend's death.
Okay.
Um, I
Okay.
like not riding as much anymore. I appreciate motorcycles more when I work on them. But I still ride quite a bit, but not. I have a better respect for motorcycle after my friend's death. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not an idiot going 110 miles an hour anymore. I don't go to the canyons a lot. I just cruise. I cruise. I'm safe. I have a 3-year-old daughter, and I have a wife waiting at home, and I'm sure they want me to come back in one piece and not have to get a phone call from the hospital. So that I always think that in my head, and from time to time, I got to be honest. I get scared riding sometimes. I just the back of my head, I always think about my friend's death. But
But I tell you what,
the
mate,
best.
that makes you a bigger man to admit that, because there are so many people that won't admit that, even though they feel like that.
Mm,
You know, that's 100% respectable. Like
thank
I
you.
think there are so many more people that appreciate that might not even admit to it, because it means that they're
Hmm.
facing the truth themselves on the. I think that we're faced with the reality of what could happen. We all know in the
Yeah.
back of our head that the worst case scenario is like your friend, my friend. You know, we lose our
Hmm.
friends, but I think that there's part of us that will continue to ignore that, and
Yeah.
it takes a bigger man to admit that you know it terrifies me. I'm not a natural
Yeah.
rider, you know. I'm not the guy that can ride the wheels off anything,
Yeah.
but I and the idea of death petrifies me. But
Yeah.
what excites me is the idea in my head of playing with death a little bit in a controlled manner, if that
Yeah.
makes any sense,
Yeah. No, that
you
makes
know.
sense.
But it takes a lot. Sorry to interrupt you, Emma, but I appreciate that. That's fucking deep. I really appreciate
Yeah.
that. You know, sorry,
Yeah.
but
That's
no,
that.
that's
I always. I mean, that's every time I start my bike. Yeah. When it's cold start. When I hear the engine start, that's always in the back of my head. And just like with everything in life, you gotta respect whatever you're doing because it might turn around and hit you back. And
yeah, man.
and that's but I still love riding a lot. I don't ride as much anymore. A lot of people ask me to ride all the time, but I usually pass. But I love the thrill that I get to is really working on motorcycles and then afterwards riding it, and then that's just really what I chase for. um, at the end of the day, my main mission is to, I kind of, you've seen it on my page, right? Is don't buy new bikes, keep the old ones running. And it's
Yeah,
really,
man, for
a lot
sure.
of people say, oh, well, how's the motorcycle economy going to keep going if you don't buy new? I mean, that's not what I mean. I mean, I'm just saying
No,
keep the old style going and work on the old bike. That's what I cherish the most. That style of bike is what I cherish the most. Um, they may be tricky to work on, but I appreciate them a lot more than newer bikes.
no,
Yeah,
that's it, man. So I think we'll hit the end stream button in a second,
yeah,
and I just want to thank you again, and I appreciate you talking about stuff like that, because well, everyone that's on this channel, that everyone that's on bikes have had somebody and they've lost
yeah,
someone, and you know, a
hmm,
lot of people don't want to talk about it, and that doesn't mean that we're trying to encourage the new softer generation of being a man. It just
hmm,
it's a hard thing to talk about. I think everyone somewhere will relate to what we spoke about in that respect, and you know, to be able to continue to ride a bike even though that stuff,
yeah,
and like you
yeah,
said, to continue building bikes in your friend's honor,
yeah.
it's incredible, and it's a privilege for me to be able to listen to you tell your story. And yeah, so for
Oh,
people that want to
yeah,
find you on social media, it's Peterbuilt underscore Pete
moto.
Peterbuilt underscore Moto, and
Yeah.
then anywhere else they can find you
I'm on TikTok, but basically my Instagram content's basically the same thing
is
as
all
my TikTok.
connected.
But I think next year I'm planning on
YouTube,
starting a YouTube video, so it's more
yes.
extended, and you just start from there and start expanding. Uh, Again, Josh, thank you for this opportunity. I love
No
what
man,
you're
you're all.
doing.
Thank you, thank you.
I think in this day and age, a lot of millennials and Gen Zs don't ride motorcycles anymore, but people like you that spread the word and get people interested.
I
And we
appreciate that,
need
man.
people like you to get, to basically get home builders and put them out there like me, because
Yeah,
not a lot of
yeah,
people
yeah.
get that much coverage. And this has been a really awesome opportunity. So I appreciate
No,
you
no,
offering that.
thank you, mate.